with Cyn now being in the same body as Uzi, as much as I like that ending, because I really like Cyn, I think she's really fun, if more than a little psychotic. I think that also presents a few problems, especially for Uzi, who seems to have this devil-may-care attitude about the whole thing, even when she shows her classmates her new form, which is definitely more Cyn-like than it was before. She doesn't really seem to care much what happens with Cyn and almost treats her very nonchalantly and more as an annoyance than anything else. But when we see her in the mirror, when we see her as the tail, and we see her put a bow on Uzi's head, I kind of got a bit worried, and not because I necessarily think there's a way that Cyn could take over Uzi. I think we are far past that plotline, but I do think there's a small possibility that she's still trying to influence her in some way, specifically with the bow, because this could just be me looking way too deep into this and just having a theory brain. But Tessa wore a bow, and for a very long time, Cyn possessed Tessa. Now, it's true that Cyn was also one of Tessa's many servants and quote-unquote friends. She even spared her life. While, yes, it left her traumatized, at least it left her alive. That is, if you don't believe that Cyn possessed Tessa right away, which I don't think was the case. I think Tessa had some time between the slaughter and being possessed by Cyn to maybe think over what happened and actually get even more traumatized, especially when Cyn came back and then possessed her. But it's a fact that she was a part of Tessa for a very long time, and so much so that no one was even able to tell the difference. That's how well she integrated herself within Tessa. And I think something similar might happen to Uzi eventually. Probably not right away, especially because Uzi is very much aware of Cyn's tactics. However, it does worry me that she doesn't seem to mind that much when Cyn tries to influence a few things, even if it's just something as small as wearing a bow. Because as Cyn says, has she even considered wearing a bow? Presumably because Cyn thinks it looks good on her. And the reason for that, at least in my opinion, is because while she was Tessa, she wore a bow all the time. And I think that's something that kind of stuck with her. That's a fundamental part of her personality now. And because this is a fundamental part of her personality, now that she has a new body, she's trying to make Uzi seem a little bit more like something or someone she is familiar with. Now, I don't think this will go on to full-on fight for control, because we've been over this already, but I do think that Cyn might try some subtle things in order to change Uzi into a version of her that she sees as more fit. And over time, I think other people might notice this too. And Uzi already knows, she just doesn't think it's a big deal yet. And I know that the series is over and this is all just gonna stay theory, but I think it's possible that in the future we might see maybe another, not conflict, but maybe a crisis of identity between Uzi, the way she is now, and maybe the Uzi that Cyn is trying to turn her into. I still don't think that this will lead to Cyn dying completely. It might just be that she's even more restrained than she is now, which might also be a problem since she is a virus and her purpose is to kill in this case, but also to spread this destruction and slaughter to other planets, which doesn't seem like it's gonna be the case anymore. So I'm wondering how long until she snaps, and then how long until Uzi snaps. I think it would be really fun to see, but unfortunately we're not gonna get to see that. It's still fun to think about though. And tell me in the comments down below if you also noticed the little detail of Tessa wearing the bow all the time, even when she was possessed by Cyn, and how she put a bow on Uzi later, and how that might be related to Cyn trying to influence or even take over Uzi's body sometime in the near future, or maybe a distant future if this is a process that actually takes some time to complete.